Hi, friends. So here we are. We have completed 1 month of Moonshot Conversations, and today is our fifth episode. To think that this began as a phone conversation Lena and I were having about what we could do sitting at home that would be of value to others. And a month later, we have had a steady increase of our sacred gathering. Our Korobori has gone from 60,000 who viewed our first episode to 10 lakh views who viewed our fourth episode, which happened on last Sunday. Lena and I am still amazed at how we have reached here.
So, Agnella Rajesh, while both of us are extremely grateful to that our circle has widened, the science behind knowing how this happened, the law of attraction, or as the Dalai Lama calls it, and he explained it to me, the auspicious coincidence, or as other people call it, synchronicity. It is a concept that we are going to discuss in our next episode when we discuss the reticular activation system of our brain. It's truly an amazing thing to understand. It shifted the trajectory of my life. The one thing I want to say is that Agnella Rajesh and I can nudge you, but you really, really have to start doing the journal work to seeing the magic. As one of the greatest clinical psychologists, Abraham Maslow said, what is necessary to change a person is to change his awareness of himself. In any given moment, we have two options: to step forward into growth, to step back into safety. If you are showing up here, I know you want to step forward into growth, but do not forget that you will have a subconscious mind, subconscious fears that pull you back, but you can. You have the power to override them.
Fabulous, fantastic, Lena. Friends, for everyone who is watching, remember to post any questions that you have, and we would be answering each and every question. Lena will be personally doing that. So, friends, this episode is about self awareness. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. So,
Wow.
Lena, self awareness, what does this mean? And what is the role it plays in our endeavor to increase our levels of happiness, health, and success?
Well, it's generally the extent to which, any one of us consciously aware of our internal state and how this will help us or hinder us, how it'll push us forward or backwards. And this includes our relationships, our interactions with others. The beauty is if you become more self-aware, you begin to start understanding why things happen to you in a certain way. And, you understand your patterns. We've all known of people who fall into the same painful patterns again and again and again. It could be relationship, business, whatever it is, but they do it because they haven't mastered the aspect of self-awareness.
Yes.
The issue is that only 10 to 15% of the whole population is truly self-aware. But if you are self-aware, it's a fabulous, it's the number one success habit. So the closer you are the closer you are to who you are when you're alone and when you're with others, the more authentic your sense of self-awareness is. So and the more confident you become, the more people trust you and are drawn to you. So internal self-awareness means having a deep, deep understanding of our emotions, our thoughts, our strengths, our weaknesses, our needs, our drives. People have a very strong sense of self-awareness, recognize how their own feelings affect them and affect other people and their performance. Before we started this, Agnella Rajesh, I expressed to you that I have this fear of control. I know I have a fear of other people controlling me, and I know where it comes from. But because I'm consciously aware of it, I can consciously keep working on it as well, right? So people who have a very low level of self-awareness sort of just go through life on autopilot and go
Mhm.
from thing to thing without ever kind of thinking about who they are. And how do we find success and happiness unless we know who we really are inside? Uh,
Absolutely.
do you know what motivates you? Do you know what drives you? Do you know what excites you? Do you know what calms you? Do you know what causes you stress? On what basis do you choose, select, and decide anything? Because I'm self-aware today, I do all of this with conscious, mindful forethought. It's from everything about how I think. I can
Yes.
catch myself. I can catch myself in a thought and say, "Oh, Lena, that's not in alignment with who you are." Choose another thought. So my day-to-day thoughts, my actions, decisions, from what to eat, when to work, what to wear, to larger decisions like what car to buy, which holiday to take, to life-changing decisions. Should I stay in this marriage? Should I leave it? Should I sell my company? Should I not? It means if you're self-aware, you live intentionally and on purpose
Yes.
rather than living your life on autopilot by accident. And many of us are living life in accordance to our parents' expectations or by what we see as fate and destiny. But we don't have to. We can take control of our own lives.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Friends, until you make the unconscious conscious, the unconscious will direct your life and you will term it as destiny. So, if we have internal self awareness, it allows us to live in more alignment with the core of who we are. Friends, it helps us to take decisions that move us forward. How did this journey into self awareness begin, and how do you think it has changed you, Lina?
So I went through most of my life as most people do. Like you just go through the paces. I graduated high school, I went to college, I got married, I had a kid. And it's only in 2006 when I explained in our last moonshot conversation, when I experienced what I experienced, it's when I could feel the pain is
Yes.
I started thinking about deep thoughts. Who am I? What are my values? What are my needs? What are my drivers? What is really is my definition of success? What does a happy life look to me? And it's at this time when I went through that low that my brother Kamal sent my son and me on a 4-day date with destiny run by Anthony Robbins. And that's when because he asks you these questions, and that's when my self-awareness journey began. The truth is, until we are self-aware, how do we actually know what success looks like to us? What does happiness look like to us? What will make us feel
Absolutely.
alive? What
Yes.
allows us to flow with life? And once you have done this work, we will activate our reticular activation system, which we'll discuss in our next episode, and that will literally bring the vision you have for your life to life.
Wow, wow. Friends, we cannot do all the work here on the conversations that you are witnessing. I would like to remind you that you must download the journal and do the work to see the magic happen. You can do it with your entire family. Friends, strong people have a strong sense of self worth and self awareness. They don't need the approval of others. Lina, you also mentioned strengths and weaknesses. How is knowing this beneficial to moving forward?
So remember, I told you when we did Operation Optimism that we all have a negativity bias. Yeah, and I
Yes.
explained to you why we do. So it's in our culture everywhere. So parents and school will focus on what we can't do. So very rarely, you go to a PTM and a teacher will say, so and so your son is bad at math, he needs more practice. Very rarely do we hear, so and so is fabulous at dance. He could do with more practice.
Yes.
We should all know what are the strengths that I can rely on and what are
Mhm.
some of my weaknesses. So I have two choices then. I can either develop and learn those
Mhm.
weaknesses, or I could look for somebody else who brings that strength to the table. So if you and I work together, Agnella Rajesh, I
Mhm.
see the big picture, you actually see the details, you drive the business. We've got very different strengths, and that's why, a partnership works. So
Absolutely.
you know we have to do the quest. There's a never ending quest. What do we need to do to live our best life as humans? Also, what would I need to do to live my best life as a human?
Wow. So, to live one's best life, one must be self aware. As you become more clear about who you are really, you will be in a better position to decide what is best for you. Friends, to be self aware, one must be self reflecting and understand the emotional state and what motivates and what does not motivate. How do you begin all of this, Lena? How to begin on understanding what motivates and what doesn't motivate?
So first you have to bring awareness to your thoughts, right? That's the
Okay.
aspect of meditation. So the self awareness theory is actually based on the fact that we are not our thoughts, but we can be the entity observing our thoughts. That's why even Harvard University makes a distinction between the brain and the mind. So
Mhm.
one day to go about your one way to go about your day and your life is without giving much thinking to your thinking and to your feeling, and the other is to mindfully bring awareness to your inner self, to self evaluate whether your thinking and feeling is in line with who you actually are and where
Are.
you want to go and what you need to do in order to get there. Right? So we can all have a plan, but unless we do the work, we can't go anywhere. Self awareness consists of an open, objective observation of our feelings, senses, desires, and actions. Basically, that's it. This process, if you do the work, allows you to flourish. We observe our negative emotions without attaching ourselves to them and see what it
Mhm.
teaches us. Like I told you, I know me feeling like you're controlling me is a negative emotion, and I know it's not going to drive my life forward. But unless I'm mindfully conscious of it, I can't work on it. So it allows me to keep mindfully aware of everything that I think about you, right? So that and if we do that, and even when we had the positive emotions, again, we don't attach anything to it.
Wow.
We observe it and we let it pass. But we observe what it's doing to us. Is it moving us forward or is it going to hold us back? One way is to keep a journal. And as you experience the emotional states, and we've asked you to do that in this journal for 1 week,
Yes.
uh, when you do that, you'll know what feels good, and when you feel stuck. So I was leading a company for a very long time, right, Agnel Rajesh?
Yes. Yes.
And it's only when I started understanding, that I don't enjoy conflict. And that constantly, when you're running a company with a lot of women, you're constantly sorting out conflict between colleagues. So, it would make me feel stuck. And I know when I work up by myself or with a small group of people who clearly align with who I am and how I am, I feel fabulous. When I'm creative, I feel fabulous. So this sort of understanding of myself allowed me to make some life altering decisions. you know
Fantastic.
I know that moving forward, I don't want to build a massive operation all over again. I
Mhm.
want to work with a small group of people like you, Agnella Rajesh, and other people who actually, make me feel alive. So if I didn't do this work, I couldn't bring this into my awareness. And if you don't do the work, you can actually end up being your own worst enemy with thoughts, feelings that are not in your best interest. I did an interview with Nirayal, the author of
Yeah,
Indestructible.
indestructible. Yes.
Yeah. So, and that's when I understand when he says, what we allow to distract us or not give us traction moving forward is if we do not deal with the uncomfortable feelings, right? If we don't deal with them, we will want to cover them up through ways of distracting ourselves, social media, games, emails, and all of these pull us back. Comfortable feelings like inner motivation cause traction. So if you start understanding what causes distraction for you and what causes traction for you, you'll choose what causes traction for you and you'll keep moving forward. But how will you know what these feelings are if you don't do the inner work?
Wow. So the message is loud and clear. Only you can take inner freedom away from yourself or give it to yourself. Nobody else can. That's what Lena is trying to express, which is so truthful and so right. So, Lena, what are some of the things you would like to ask someone to spark their interest in becoming more self aware?
So obviously you've got to download the journal and do the journal work. But let me do an experiment with you right now. Do you have a piece of pen and paper close by?
Yeah, I do have.
Okay. And I want everyone who's online right now to do some work with us, right? Very
Okay.
quickly, and post it as a comment. So
Okay.
answering these questions, and we've got lots of these questions in the journal, is a powerful
Mhm.
first step in self-discovery. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm sure the audience is ready as well.
Okay, so I want everyone to participate. Describe yourself in 3 words. I'm giving you 10 seconds. It's the first thought that comes to your head. Describe yourself in 3 words, Agnello Rajesh. Go.
Oh, only 3 words.
Yep, 3 words. And I'm giving you 10 seconds. One, and the audience. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm
Okay.
done. I'm done.
Let, I'm hoping all of you watching have
Yes.
written down your 3 words that describe yourself. Okay, Agnello Rajesh, let's hear it.
So mine is I'm a multitasker. That's word one, number one. Word number two is 2 words together to express one thing. That is fearless persistence and global citizen. So I'm a multitasker. I fearlessly persist anything and everything that I focus my attention on, and I love to be a global citizen all the time. These are my
Okay.
3 words describing me.
So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody else's 3 words when I come on. Okay. Now, are you ready for the second question?
One more.
One more. Come on, let's do one more.
Oh,
And
okay.
I want all the audience to participate as well. What is
Sure.
your biggest strength, Agnello Rajesh?
Oh, that's simple. I'm ready.
Okay. What's your biggest strength?
Well, my biggest strength is knowledge. Whatever I intend doing and whatever I get involved with, I dive deep, absolutely deep, and make sure that I have complete knowledge of the activity that I'm into. Like, for example, if I'm into villa development, I absolutely know every aspect of the business that I'm engaged with in terms of laws, finance, permissions, approvals, customer acquisition, campaigns, advertising, marketing, reaching to the customers, the sales pitch, everything. So,
Okay.
knowledge.
Fabulous. So I'm going to look forward to seeing everybody else's, our corroborees responses. So this is your first, is actually asking yourself questions. And in the journal, we've got all these questions written down.
Wow. Fantastic. Fantastic. So, Lena, I have never consciously asked myself questions like this. Friends, the biggest and the only critic lives in your perception of people's perception of you rather than people's perception of you in reality. So, Lena, this is my question to you. What are some of the areas that make up the entire spectrum of self awareness?
So there's many areas of self-awareness, right? There's our personal values, our traits, our habits, our emotions, the psychological needs that we have that will drive us forward, that will actually motivate our behavior. We will, because each of these sort of needs a separate conversation in itself, right? So we will
Mhm,
explore all of these going forward in separate conversations. But self-awareness allows us to put ourselves in environments where we thrive, right? So, for example, even knowing whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. So I know I'm a bit of both. I
mhm,
need extroversion and I need
mhm,
introversion as well. So when I'm in Bombay or Mumbai, sorry, I use that time to, you know, hustle and bustle, and it kind of gears up my energy. And
mhm,
I do all of that there, and I socialize, and then I come to to Goa,
mhm.
and then I slow down my pace.
Wow.
I, I retreat into this forest and I
Okay.
regroup my energy and I slow down my breath
Mhm.
and my thoughts and my pace. So Mumbai is where I'm doing and Goa is where I'm being. But I know that I need both to thrive. But if we do not know, do the inner work, we do not know what we need to thrive.
Wow. So you go to Goa and you rejuvenate so that you come with refreshed energy back to Mumbai and start creating your magic again, Lena, right?
And that's true, unless, other than the times that you keep sparking my energy, even when I'm in Goa.
So, friends, I also strongly believe that success comes from the inside out. In order to change what is on the outside, you must first change what is in the inside. So, self awareness allows one to live their life on purpose rather than without a plan. Lena, what are some of the advantages children may have had if this self awareness exercise is done as they are growing up?
So as I said earlier, we are mostly living, the expectations of our parents, right?
Mhm.
So if we get kids to be self-aware, they will resist it when the outside world tries to condition their beliefs or who they are inside. And they will know who they are at their core, and they'll operate from this deep self-awareness. In the normal course, children are striving to meet the expectations of parents. Then when we're in school and college, we strive to meet the expectations of our parents and our culture. Then we take a job, we strive to meet the expectations of our boss. Then, so most of the time we're not living our life from an awareness of what is my core needs, what are my core values, and what are my core desires. um, and when we don't live in accordance to our core needs, values, and desires, we actually live a life of stress, anxiety, and depression.
Oh, this makes sense. This makes a lot of sense. Friends, I know a lot of people doing these things to meet the needs and expectations of others without giving much deliberate and conscious thought to their inner core.
Yeah.
Friends, without self awareness, we are babies in the cradles. I can see the importance of doing this journal work and will do so. I will also be doing so as soon as this show gets over. As Lena says, we can nudge you in the right direction, but you have to download the journal and work on the journal to see the magic happen. Lena, how can parents begin a journey of self awareness in their children? What is very exciting, Lena, is I'm seeing a lot of messages which are coming down. People are commenting a lot of messages, but we are missing out on the questions. My request to the audience is if you can ask questions, then during the end of this session, I will be picking up a few questions which Lena will be answering, and 100% of the questions which are asked online will be answered by her after the show. But before that, Lena, how can parents begin a journey of self awareness in their children?
So where do children learn anything from? They learn it first from their parents, right? So
Okay.
parents have to start their own journey.
Mhm,
And parents have to model this for their kids. So you constantly in your language with your children speak about what your strengths are and what
mhm.
your values are, and more importantly, model it for them. I'm constantly telling you, children learn from what they see you do, not what you say. And I'll tell you a story that's quite funny. My son, who's 5 at the time, has always heard from me that it's more important to give than to receive. From when he was very young, I tell him, when you give, you release serotonin, dopamine more than when you receive. And his birthdays were always in orphanages. He was giving rather than receiving. And one day we are driving through the streets of Mumbai, and somebody taps on the window and is trying to sell me a box of strawberries. Now, we Indians, we love to bargain, right? Even if I tell you,
Absolutely.
Agnel or Rajesh, come for dinner at 8 o'clock, you say, please, can you make it 8:30? I don't know why this happens, but we Indians are constantly bargaining. So I set out to negotiate, with her, and I'm bargaining with the woman who's trying to send me strawberries. And my son looks
Yeah.
at me like
Mm,
he's
mm.
looking at me perplexed, and he asks me, "Why, mom? What does 10 rupees mean to you, and what does it mean to her?" And I suddenly said, "Oh my God, he's got me in hypocrisy."
Yes.
And kids will catch you out because they're so aware. And I've never, not only have I never negotiated with a street vendor since that day, I've never negotiated anywhere. If I walk into a store and I ask for something, I've already thought about what value I assign to it. And if sometimes I pay more for it than I've been asked to. So I've never negotiated since that day, because
Hmm.
my son made me deeply aware that I can slip back into autopilot mode and stop thinking about what my values are, right? So since then, I actually do a journal diary entry at the end of every day. It's
Hmm.
like an internal check-in. Have I, my thoughts, emotions, actions, and decisions today, were they in line with my purpose and my values?
Wow. So you make sure that you keep your own mindful journal, Lina. That's awesome. So parents must model this for their children and articulate and live their values in a way that is visible and tangible to their children and teenagers. What else can parents do, Lina?
Well, so allow your kids and teenagers to map their own aspirations, right? Whether it is to get on a basketball team, or to get into a course at a specific college, or to invent something, or to contribute to humanity in some way, whatever it is, let the aspiration be truly their own. When I was running Billabong High, I said aspiration over ambition, because an
Absolutely.
aspiration is very different. The motivation and the drive of meeting an aspiration is very, very strong. And then you can create a subset of goals, which we'll talk about in the next moonshot. But wouldn't it be great if all children had this self-awareness as a
Absolutely. Absolutely.
natural cognitive state? They were
Yes.
mindful of, and they could, they can depend on that to decode their thoughts, emotions, and behavior, and to actively choose based on who they are. Actively choose their thoughts, actively choose their emotions, actively choose their emotions and their decisions. Children who grow up being self-aware have got actually higher levels of emotional intelligence. They have more empathy, and they're more compassionate, and they're kinder. They have better communication skills and listening skills as well. And because of all of this, they have stronger relationships and better leadership skills, as I said, because they have a better arsenal of awareness from which they can
Wow.
make better decisions, and ones that align with who they are. So, being self-aware is essential even in positions of leadership.
Fantastic. I love the word arsenal of awareness. Fantastic. So, self awareness means knowing your values, personality, needs, habits, emotions, strengths, and weaknesses. Fantastic. It's a sense of who you are and a vision of the person you want to become. You don't need anybody to tell you who you are or what you are. You are what you are, and you need to know who you are. That's all about self awareness. So, Lina, what are some of the aspects of our self that could be connected with self awareness and mindful defining?
Okay, so we don't have the time to discuss them today, but we will do in all of our other moonshot conversations. So one core aspect is to define the values we live by, right? So someone who values acceptance, for example, will lead his life very differently to someone who values uniqueness, right?
Okay.
Um,
Mhm.
being unique very often means you're not going to be accepted. Somebody who values family very high on the list will definitely live his life differently to somebody who values success as his core value. So high on my list of values is peace. Whenever I need to choose a thought, an
Mhm.
action, or a decision,
Okay.
the question I ask myself is, will this increase the peace in my life or decrease it? Based on
Mhm.
this, I decide my thoughts, actions, and decisions. Even the jewelry I wear, I
Mhm.
when I wear this jewelry, it increases the peace in my life. I don't have to lock it up. I don't have to be scared about losing it. No one's going to steal it. Right?
Wow.
So everything, including my jewelry, my car, my relationships, are based on my value. Then
Wow.
habits. We'll spend another moonshot on habits, and habits are the behaviors we repeat routinely. So all of this obviously affects the outcome of our lives. So if I say I value learning, but if I don't develop the habit of reading, I'm not going to get very far. If I, so based on the values, we create our habits to support things we value. Since peace is high on my list of values, my habits include meditation and really soulful music. Then in another moonshot, we will study our needs. For
Mm-hmm.
example, Maslow talks about psychological needs that drive our behavior, right? Some of us have a need for esteem or affection or to belong or to achieve, to self actualize, to power and to control. Our behaviors will be influenced by our highest needs. So, somebody who has a need for significance or power and control as their main need may be motivated to somebody differently to somebody who has love and connection as their main need. So, needs create the emotions and the motivations for our behavior to sort of go forward. So, emotional self awareness allows us to have an understanding of our feelings, what causes them, and how they impact our thoughts and our actions. So, if you know what triggers your anger,
Mm-hmm.
um, you'll already have some power over it. If I know I get triggered by the feeling of control, I automatically have some control over it, right? So just knowing our strengths and weaknesses allow us to play to our strengths and support our weaknesses. I know I'm creative. I know I'm not naturally structured in my head, so I have somebody schedule my tasks and submission dates. And I'm a big picture person, so I surround myself with detail oriented people. It's just as simple as that.
Fantastic. So you relate to the word peace. I relate to the word impact. So, friends, if we have spent time on becoming self aware and choosing who we want to be, our values, emotions, habits, and needs, we are more likely to live happy and successful lives. We need to find out who you are and what to do about it. And it should be done on a purpose, a very strong purpose of self awareness. So, to live this inside out way to success and happiness, what are some of the processes we should undergo? How do we begin this internal journey, Lena?
You download the journal and take the quiz on self awareness, right? Uh, you do the work to see the magic. So it's a two
Okay.
step. You take the quiz, and then you also ask a friend to take the quiz on your behalf, right? Because what
Okay.
happens is, at times it's hard for us to assess our own strengths and weaknesses. So getting another person's view is very helpful. Um, so even just this one step of starting to think about us, our strengths and weaknesses is a major step. It's a way
Mhm.
for us to connect with our own unique identity. as you
Okay.
fo- as you focus on yourself,
Mhm.
you'll become an sort of like a objective evaluator of yourself, right? So this will give you the ability to engage in reflection and self-awareness. And if somebody's view of you is very different to your view of yourself, at least you have an understanding of how far or how close you are to being authentic. So the people who are truly authentic are people whose inner lives and outer lives are closely aligned.
Fabulous, fabulous. So, Lina, I can see that self awareness and self improvement go hand in hand. Becoming more self aware can help you understand your wants, needs, and desires, as well as your strengths and weaknesses. Friends, self awareness is an important tool for success. When you become more self aware, you begin uncovering destructive thought patterns and unhealthy habits, which we need to overcome actually by becoming self aware. Friends, knowing your unique personality type, which can also help you to manage and prevent stress, as well as help you to focus better on your career plans. As a parent, how do we start to take our children and teenagers on this journey, Lina, of giving them the ability to identify their own feelings, values, strengths, and limitations, as well as understanding how their feelings and thoughts can influence what they do?
So when your kids are very young, they won't have the vocabulary range, right? So it's our
Right.
job to give them. And I've actually in the journal, there's a full range of emotional states in the journal. So when your child looks visibly angry when a sibling breaks a toy, ask the child, are you irritated or disgusted? So we begin to increase their range of use of the words and vocabulary for expression. If he says irritated, ask him for the intensity. Ask him, is the intensity of your irritation so big or is it so big? you know
Mhm.
so you're starting to give them some questions that get them to start thinking about who they are. You ask your kids, what is your favorite part of the day at school? What are some of the
Mhm.
things you struggle to do? Don't
Mhm.
ask why questions in this exercise. And if you look at the journal, you'll understand why. You have to ask what questions. So you don't ask yourself, why are you angry? You'll ask
Mhm.
yourself, what happened to make me feel
What
this
happened?
way? You know,
Perfect.
you
Mhm.
won't you won't ask your child, why are you not doing your homework? You'll say, what would need to happen to make you feel
Mhm.
like doing your homework? Or what is it about the homework that makes it not fun to do? Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So as you ask these what questions, it begins to increase productive self insight and to decrease unproductive thoughts and focus. So do not ever ask your kids, why did you fail the test? Ask, what would you do next time to do better at this test?
Fantastic. So we ask them the what questions that will allow children to be future focused as well as empowered to act, right?
Yes. What is it about Superman that makes him your favorite superhero? What is your superpower? What do you wish you do that you don't that you wish you didn't have to do? What makes your day feel alive? What makes you feel scared? What makes you feel most loved? What does a happy day look like to you? What are three things that make you smile? What are three things that make you sad?
Mhm. So sometimes we lack clarity about our values and goals, causing us to perpetually make choices that are not in our best interest. Friends, self awareness is the ability to see yourself clearly and objectively through reflection and through introspection. It is an inward understanding of your values, your passion, your aspirations, ideal environments, patterns, reactions, and impact on others. People who are high in internal self awareness tend to make choices that are consistent with who they really are, allowing them to lead happier and much more satisfying lives. Uh, Friends, we need to understand one more aspect that those without it act in ways that are incompatible with their true success and happiness. If anyone watching has questions for Lena, please do ask. And remember, you need to do the journal work to see the magic happen. All the past episodes, including today after the show is over, you'll be getting a journal on today's topic of self awareness. The more you do it along with your family, the more ingrained it will get into you and shape up the way you think and live your life. What's your take on this, Lena?
So science tells us, right, that human beings are not very adept at self-awareness. And what researchers have found is that self-awareness is like a golden ticket for success,
Mhm.
happiness, and fulfillment. Golden ticket for success, happiness, and fulfillment.
Okay.
And if the actual fact is, if more people in this world were self-aware, we'd see a massive transition in how humanity operates. It would create better families, better schools, better workplaces.
Okay.
With this shift, we would have a greater increase in compassion and empathy and flourishing in the world.
Mhm.
So, it's worth doing the work to see the magic.
Wow, fantastic. Unfortunately, audience, we have run out of time. The topics are interesting. I would love to keep on extending this conversation, but we have run out of time. Today is just us dipping our toe in the pool of self awareness. We will take each of the strands, the values, the needs, the habits, the strengths, and create a personal vision map so that we get into an activity where which will help us to reach where we want to reach and where we want to go. Friends, luckily, self awareness can be practiced and cultivated. It's not a fixed trait. If you begin to consciously practice self awareness, you can evaluate how your values, passions, and goals fit in your current environment and emotions, and how you can align them better. Friends, you can also understand how other people view you, creating stronger and more authentic relationships with the people around you. Do tune in next Sunday at 5 p.m. sharp for our conversations on setting goals and making them happen by tuning in our reticular activation system, which is the topic for the next week. Over to you, Lina.
See you next Sunday. Really, really, really do look forward to seeing you. And at the end of this, the first thing I will do is answer all the questions.
So, audience, thanks a ton for your interactions, for your engagements. I have seen so many comments on the screen. It is amazing. We are going to respond to each comment. We are going to respond to every question. My request to you is all of you need to download all the journals and start doing it with the family together. Don't forget to keep on asking us questions. You can ask us questions even after the session is over. Lina will make it sure, she will ensure that she replies to every question asked.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
When Agnella Rajesh says we, he means me.
Yes, it is Lina who's going to answer it, and I'm also going to be learning from your questions and her answers. Thank you
see you
so much.
see you next Sunday.
See you next Sunday, 5 p.m. sharp.